Hi there, I'm Claire Williams from the British Equestrian Trade Association, and welcome to today's episode, which is part of BETA's Summer of Safety. Over the summer, we're talking about all things safety, from body protectors and hats through tech, biosecurity, yard safety, to feed and equine health. Today marks the start of a fortnight focus on riding out and road safety. And who better to talk about this than the British Horse Society's leads on safety, Alan Hiscox. I've known Alan for quite a few years. He comes from a policing background, and excitingly, he led the police horse display ride, which I vividly remember seeing. I think it must have been at Olympia. He advises on safety and he represents equestrians on the Parliamentary Advisory Council on Transport and Safety. So is very well placed to represent all of our interests in terms of riding and road safety, and heads the award-winning Dead Slow campaign. So I'll ask Alan to join us on. Alan, hi there. How are you today?
Hi Claire, yeah, very good, thank you, and thanks for the opportunity to talking to you on your Beta Safety Week.
Well, and to be honest, who best to really set the week off than you and the organisation you work with, who has such a voice on safety, on both on the roads and we're riding out. As the lead for safety for the BHS, what is it that you do? What do you spend your time really doing?
Okay, well, I would say that we are the one-stop shop for all matters safety for equestrians. You know, be that some incidents maybe with an autonomous vehicle, with dogs, fireworks, drones, low-flying aircraft, fireworks. So anything that an equestrian carriage driver or rider has an issue with, then yeah, they can contact the BHS safety team and we'll advise them and hopefully be able to help them.
Yeah, and I mean, this last year and a half, we've probably, whether we like it or not, had more time to get out riding. Have you seen a real rise in reports or contacts from the public to you over this time?
Um, Funnily enough, not really. I mean, you would expect it certainly on the roads, with perhaps more horse riders sort of trying to exercise their horses, and traffic has speeded up. But no, we haven't. Although we are getting an increase in the incidents reported to us because of the advertising and the publicity on our horse accidents aware incident site. And I know we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, it's been a busy summer and a busy sort of winter as well.
Yeah, I suppose that's good and bad. You talk about I mentioned the Dead Slow campaign. For those who maybe aren't aware of the detail, they may have seen it or heard it, but don't know the detail. What exactly is it?
Okay, this is a campaign where we're trying to involve drivers, inform them, guide them, persuade them even on how to pass horses safely. There were a number of incidents that are taking place, and there's 1,500 incidents reported to it just so far this year. We're asking them to do four things. You know, it is a behavioural change technique. You know, if I see a horse on the road, and that means a ridden horse, a carriage horse, or even a feral horse. So if I see a horse on the road, then I will slow down to a maximum of 15 miles an hour. I won't sound my horn or rev my engine, and when safe to do so, pass wide and slow, at least 2 meters, and drive slowly away. And what we're saying to drivers is, you know, if you adhere to those four messages, then that will, we hope, entail a safe pass to horses. And all those four messages are really important, even the driving slowly away. You know, we had a Porsche driver who did everything correctly, but just put that foot on the accelerator just a little bit too much, had a wheel spin, and it ended up with 3 riders injured. So that's the Dead Slow campaign.
And a lot of it is education of drivers or even cyclists, because they don't know how horses respond. They think that they turn their engine off and then you ride past and then they turn it on straight away without realizing the impact that has. How do you get that message across to drivers? How are you speaking to drivers about it?
Well, we hold events. We've been at the Goodwood Festival of Speed. We're going to the Goodwood Revival Classic Car Show. We've been over to the Isle of Man TT race, giving presentations to driving instructors. We're at the National Driving Instructors Conference in a month or so's time, and just getting out there and talking to cycling clubs as well, involving other vulnerable road user groups. So involving Living Streets, involving Cycling UK and the motorcycle groups. So, you know, as vulnerable road users, we've all got a message, but we're trying to get it out to drivers as well. And even, putting presentations together for driver trainers, for John Lewis, Expo Logistics, DHL, Morrison's. So, we're running to stand still at the moment, but we're trying to get that message out there.
It's astounding because, and I think it's such a brilliant idea speaking to DPD drivers, John Lewis drivers, the delivery drivers, because they're the ones we do often see out on the roads, and they're the ones that have had very little, if any, contact with horses. What role do you think we can play ourselves as horse riders? Where do we come into it?
Well, if you have an incident, and what I mean by an incident doesn't need to be a collision, if it's a close pass or anything that just makes you think, actually, if circumstances had been just a little bit different, it might have ended up in an injury to my horse or myself, let us know. Either through the app that we've got, the Horse Eye app, or reporting it on our website, because when we've got all these incidents, we can then pinpoint where there's hot spots. Then we can work with the police, the local authorities, and other road safety organisations, and actually include some road safety initiatives there, whether that be a close pass operation with the police, or putting up our dead slow signs where there are that big or hotspot incidents with the horses. But also, when a car does pass you, safely, then acknowledge them, thank them. If you can't take your hands off the reins, it's a big eyes and teeth thank you. But also a really big thing is conspicuous clothing. If riders wear hi-viz or conspicuous clothing, it really does make a difference. And we've had a report with the Transport Research Laboratory where it talks about drivers detecting horses, riders, carriage drivers, and also being able to judge their approach. And we've actually got scientific evidence now that says if you wear conspicuous clothing, then it really does increase your safety.
Yeah, and by conspicuous clothing, layman's terms, hi-viz. So something, and hi-viz, and this is where I'd put a voice in, that hi-viz, there actually is hi-viz. I think a lot of people don't realise that hi-viz clothing isn't just fluorescent, bright pink or bright purple or bright green. It's not just the fabric, it's that tape, that retro-reflective tape that reflects lights off. And I think you as a rider, you have to check that when you're picking that piece of hi-viz, it meets the appropriate standard, and that means that it passes tests on washability and durability. A bright orange jacket is not necessarily a piece of hi-viz, though it probably helps make you be seen on the road.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The British Horse Society stands square behind. Make sure it's got the correct standards, because that means that what you are purchasing is really up there and is going to make a difference.
Yeah, and do the job, because I had a look at the report, and it's maybe a bit obvious, but when you think about it, we have a lot of rape fields around us, and actually I wear a yellow hi-viz. Now that's not terribly clever of me, really. If I've got lots of bright yellow background, I should be perhaps selecting a contrast colour as my hi-viz. So it might mean you need to change your hi-viz over the season.
That's right, and the TRL report actually says that. Be aware of the backgrounds. So as you say, oilseeds, yellow may not be the thing in the autumn, or low sunsets, maybe orange isn't the thing. I mean, pink. I'm not sure I would be going out in too much pink clothing, but if it's going to keep me safe, then of course I would wear pink. But be aware of the background.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And just picking up on something else you were talking about, hotspots. So if you actually report these incidents, it does mean, because I know you do work with local authorities, that you can start to pinpoint areas or hotspots where there may be more risk of incidents. And then you can work with the local authority to actually take action, can't you?
Absolutely, and we've worked with many local authorities over the past 6 months to put up some extra signage that has been approved by the Highways Authority in areas where people have reported things to us. And I know it's only anecdotal at the moment, but where these signs have gone up, riders are saying drivers are passing them a lot safer. And also the police forces, doing close pass operations, they're very well on the cycling, close paths for cycling, but now police forces are with mounted units, and some without mounted units are getting horses on the roads and having a traffic car further up the road. When a car passes too fast or too close, they're stopped, pulled in, and actually they're given our dead slow information.
That's brilliant.
We were with the virtual reality headset with the police. Obviously, we can't do that at the moment, but it's beginning to pick up again. Yes.
And what's the position of the BHS on riders wearing things like head cams? A bit like the cars have those cameras in the front to video incidents. Is that something a rider might consider as well? Does video footage count?
Absolutely, it's extra evidence. And the police, they have an Operation Snap. A lot of forces have picked up on this now, where you can submit headcam footage, and they will either educate the driver or have an enforcement when the evidence is there. We don't say which particular camera to use, because there's still, how it can be attached and where it is. So, but evidence-wise, definitely it does help when you submit film to the police.
Okay, and you mentioned again the Horseye app. I've downloaded it. Is it historical data you want as well? I didn't know about it. After you'd said, I went and downloaded it. If I'd had an incident a year ago, is it worth giving you information on that, or does it have to be current real time incidents?
It can be historical, but let's get things where you really remember what happened. Yes, obviously it's better if you've got recent knowledge of what happened. We don't need a registration number. There's drop-down menus that help you all the way through, and I think you'll find it only takes 3 or 4 minutes to actually put it in. And since we launched the app, incidents reported to us have gone up by 200%. Now that doesn't mean that there's more happening out there. What that means is we are now getting a truer picture of what's happening out there, because we were sort of 1 in 10 riders reporting incidents to us. But if we can get a true, credible picture about what's happening out there, I know the local authorities and the police say if it wasn't written down, it never happens. But if you inform us, it's written down, we can then work with the correct authorities.
No, I think that's key. And also, it's not just incidents on the road, as you said before. It can be any incident, and by incident you mean anything out of the ordinary. Do you define what things you're looking for?
Yeah, on the website there is a word by word description of what an incident is, but I sort of tie it down. If it makes you go, oh, that was a bit close, then that to me is worth reporting to us. So yes, it's in slippery road surfaces, low flying aircraft, drones, incidents with dogs, anything really. And that way we can build up this picture of what equestrians are facing, in the UK when they go out riding. I think that's really important.
It's really important. And you say slippery road surfaces. That's a really useful one, because I know sometimes when we're riding out, the roads are lethal, and it's because of the surface they've got on them. So I think that's worth flagging up as well. It's not just cars, and it's not just on the road, is it? It may be off-road riding somewhere.
Absolutely, off-road line. And we are working with Middleton, the trainers up there, about road surfaces. So there is a lot of work going on behind the scenes to actually improve things. And as you so rightly said, off-road riding, again, wear high-vis conspicuous clothing, because helicopter pilots, and we know this for sure, RAF helicopter pilots are definitely trained to look out for horses. But also, if you're unfortunate enough to have an accident, air ambulances can see where you are.
Yeah, that's what I was talking to Air Ambulance a couple of weeks ago, and that's what they flagged up. And that wouldn't have occurred to me necessarily, how important it is, if they are trying to find you, that that hi-viz can play. And in terms of what else the BHS is doing, I know you've talked before that you've actually been actively engaged in the review of the highway code, haven't you?
Yeah, and that all stems back to the end of December 2018, where there was a cycling and walking strategy for the government we're going to put in. And we lobbied MPs to say, well, why aren't you including equestrians in this review of the highway code? So then, I was invited onto the highway code review group, and together with cyclists, together with pedestrians, we are on there. And there's some significant changes or strengthening of the highway code that we are hoping will come in. One of them getting in the dead slow advice to drivers, getting that passing distance advisory of 2 meters, getting a speed that the Department of Transport are going to say is advisory when you pass horses. And this whole intimidation. And I know drivers, many drivers don't want to intimidate horses. They just don't know how to pass horses safely. So there's some strengthening coming in, we hope, in the highway code. And as they want to make it a robust document because it's quoted in court as well, and learner drivers have to go through it. So there's a big communication package that the Department of Transport are going to have to use with this, but we're going to play our part in getting it out to riders, but also, as I've said before, drivers as well. I think it's going to be, quite a major involvement and strengthening to help all horse riders and carriage drivers.
And when does it come out? How often do they review the highway code?
The whole highway code is not reviewed for many years, but this is specific for vulnerable road users. So it's going to be laid before Parliament, we hope, by the end of the year, and then those changes perhaps come in at the beginning of next year. But the next step is it being laid before Parliament. There was a whole consultation last year, and I know many riders submitted their thoughts on the consultation. They had 21,000 responses to this consultation, the biggest that they've ever had for an online consultation. So it just goes to show vulnerable road users do have a specific and a very significant effect on driving behaviour.
Hugely. And it's interesting you say about the 2 metre passing distance. Is it also laid down how riders are supposed to behave on the road as road users?
Yeah, I mean, the highway code has elements in there for riders as well. I mean, it talks about advising about the hi-viz that we've talked about, when you should ride. We're actually hoping to get the Ride Safe Award, the BHS Ride Safe Award, signposted into the highway code as well.
I was going to ask you about that as well.
Yeah, there's certain things there, and riders, yes, have to take their responsibilities very seriously as well if we're asking drivers to take their... I know it's not bedtime reading, but if you slip a copy of the highway code under your pillow at night, there might be some osmosis that comes out there.
There might be, because I'm only asking because I'm curious, because when I ride on the road with a friend, when we see a vehicle coming, we go into single file because we think that's the right way to do and to really help the driver enable to pass us, because we ride on narrow roads. And I myself have passed riders who've absolutely taken up the whole lane for themselves intentionally, which is really, as a rider, I look at them thinking, what are you doing? How should you behave in that position?
Okay, I'll say my own experience as a police officer, mounted police officer, but also myself. By all means, you can, and the highway code says you can ride 2 abreast. But if you're trying to increase the traffic flow, get drivers on our side, then have an awareness around you of what's happening. Look behind, what's the car doing? Look up ahead, and yes, pull into single file and allow the car to go past, hopefully with that 2 meters distance. But yes, there is some thought that you've got to stay, riding 2 abreast, and that's going to make them safer. I would say I don't think it's going to make you safer. What it will do, or what it may do, is annoy the driver behind, have that awareness of what's going on, and try and help the drivers to help us.
I'm so pleased you said that. I really am. Because I've thought, should we not go single file? Or when you see somebody who they've seen you, you're in a car, they're on their horse, and they ignore you. They don't look behind. They don't wave and say, I'll try and move over. They just ignore you. And that's almost as bad as anything else, and taking more room on the road. I know it can be a really emotive issue, and I think you're absolutely right. And I'm so pleased the BHS is doing so much of this, because it is all aimed at making it safer for every road user.
Yeah, and if you've got a young or nervous horse on the inside or a young rider, then of course, stay that to abreast, and that's what it says in the highway code. But I would say under normal circumstances, try and help the drivers to help us.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you mentioned the Ride Safe Award. I'm maybe a bit old. I think of them as Riding and Road Safety Award. Are they basically now Ride Safe Award? And what is that? And how do people get it? And what does it mean if they do?
Okay, the Ride Safe Award is all about making or trying to let riders know how to be safer on the roads. And I would say it's all about awareness. What is going on as you're riding on the roads? It's a recreational award. BHS accredited instructors can train you, and then now we're actually going to have the assessment is with your trainer. So there is no final assessment, if you like. We want more people to look at it, take it, and it will make you safer. And in fact, Greater Manchester Police and Lancashire Police, their mounted units, have taken the Ride Safe Award. So if mounted police officers are getting the Ride Safe Award, and surely recreational riders should do it as well. But I would say it's just that main word, awareness, increasing your awareness of what is going on. And I don't mean to say you don't enjoy your rides, but have a look around. Is that lawnmower going to start up on the left-hand side? Is that dog going to start barking in the car? Is somebody going to open a car door? Is you going past a school? Are all the children going to run towards the fence? So it's all things like that, and that's why I would say Ride Safe Award equates to awareness, and it should be fun to take it as well.
Yeah, no, that sounds, and I was reading some of it, and it makes you aware of, for the people riding in different environments, how important it is to have that awareness, because you cover not just roads, you cover beach riding or right of ways, and I think it's really important that we know and we understand the expectations on us when we're riding in different places. So we take responsibility as well for some of that risk or that awareness.
That's all right, and yeah, look, people are lucky enough to ride on a beach. Yeah, it's for you as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, that's really good. So, if people want to find out more, firstly, how do they find the Horse Eye app?
Horse Eye app is you just enter into it onto our Android or iPhone. British Horse Society Horse Eye, and then download it. It's free to download. Or if you want to report on our website, it's horseincidents.org.uk, and we've totally changed the way that the questions are asking to make it a lot easier and a lot simpler, because we were given a grant from the Department of Transport to look at how incidents reported to us, and we've made it a much simpler process.
Oh, brilliant. That sounds so good. And if people would like to find out more about the Ride Safe Award, where do they go to?
Yeah, just go onto our website, bhs.org.uk, and under training, and there'll be all the details there. And there should be a local BHS approved instructor that can take you through it.
And you can now do it. So the COVID restrictions, you can now do those awards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant. Alan, thank you so much. It's been really interesting and so key, I think, for people to be aware both of their role, but also all of the work that you and everybody at the BHS is doing on this. As you say, there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we're just not aware of, and we really owe a huge vote of thanks to you and your team for everything you're doing to make it safer for us to ride out there. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Claire.